Hi, I'm Bee. Today I'm making hanging pinch pots out of air dry clay. I was recently gifted these air plants and now I need to give them a home. Unlike traditional plants, air plants don't get their nutrients through the roots. Instead, they get it through their leaves. And because of this need for airflow, it's best to pot them in a pot that's going to allow the air to touch them from all angles. A hanging wire frame is often used, but a small pot without soil can work just as well. Another thing to keep in mind when you're creating a home for these air plants is that the plants will need to be removed because once a week they need to be soaked to meet their water needs. A few months back, I bought this really cheap air dry clay and I tried to make pots out of it with the score and slip method, but unfortunately I had wrapped them around plastic containers and I didn't realize that this type of air dry clay was going to shrink as it dried, so it ended up cracking. So this time I'm going to try the pinch pot method because assuming that I get all of the air bubbles out of the clay, it's less likely to crack, and since it's not going to be wrapped around anything, I don't have to worry about it shrinking. So after sketching out a whole bunch of different options, I've settled on these pop art vibey fruit motifs. I'm thinking I want this collection to be a full rainbow, and it's going to be a different fruit in each color. I start by using my clay garrote to divide the clay into different sections. Then I take that clay section and I roll it into a ball, pressing my thumb firmly in the middle, pinching around the outside, which is why they call it a pinch pot. If you've taken any sort of kindergarten Play-Doh class, I'm sure you've already used this technique. It is probably the most basic out there for making pots. I go through making the shapes that will correlate best with the fruit that I've picked for that color, except when I get to green, my brain decides that we don't need a lime because we already have an orange and I want to make a jellyfish instead. And so on impulse, I'd make the jellyfish. Doesn't exactly go with the fruit motif, but c'est la vie. Though rational me always tends to have a plan, creative me feels really stifled by plans. I think it's really funny that two sides of me can be so opposite and yet such huge parts of me. Once all the pots have been pinched, I add 3 holes to the top of each side so that way I can easily tie rope around them and hang them when they're finished. The jellyfish is going to be hung upside down, so I put 1 hole in the top to be able to hang the jellyfish, and then I have 5 holes around the bottom edge of the jellyfish, and that is to create this star shape that in theory will be able to hold the plant while it's upside down. Then I set them aside to dry. If you'd like to please the Pandaverse, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. A new video is released every Monday. It takes about a full week for them to dry completely, and then it's time for sanding. I use a general purpose sandpaper and just sand around the edges, trying to smooth out my fingerprints and the lumps and bumps that are on these to the best of my abilities. When I get to the jellyfish, unfortunately the jellyfish is just not up to snuff and it does break. It's okay though, because it really didn't match the set. It was kind of bothering me, so it was kind of fate. Now it's time to paint, my favorite part. This isn't a still life project. I'm not trying to make these look super realistic. I'm just trying to take a pattern from each one of these fruits. I've decided to make these fruits in a strawberry, orange, pineapple, blueberry, and grape motifs. On the strawberry motif, I create a red ombre where it's darker at the bottom point of the cone and then lightens towards the top, adding dark oval red spots and then white spots on top of those red spots. For the orange motif, I'm picturing an orange that is on one side facing the sun and on the other side it's always facing the tree. So one side is going to have more of a yellowy orange color for the sunspot, and on the back side is going to have more of a deeper orange, possibly even a little green hue to it, so that way it creates this kind of globular ombre to add a little bit more interest than just a flat orange color. The pineapple, of course, is going to have a diamond-like pattern. I create a bunch of X's on it and then emphasize the diamonds with a white highlight on one half of the diamond side. The blueberry is created using messy brush strokes with a glossy blue and a matte white, and the mixture of these two paints together creates that sort of frosted, slightly shiny, slightly not look that's common with blueberries. And finally, the grape design. Grape design was definitely inspired by that 70s circle pattern that was very common, only obviously using a grape color scheme. Once all the pieces have been painted and dry, I add a piece of twine to each one and hang them up. Here I'm hanging them up on the wall, and here I'm hanging them up on my lamp. The important part is that they're hung up somewhere that they're gonna get a lot of airflow. I think these pots look so cute as a set, and I think they're gonna be really great for my air plants. If you like this video, check out my Holiday Lights makeup video. Hello?